You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts.
All right, Black and White Sports supporters, let's talk about two NFL teams that are on different levels of suck. I guess one can at least acknowledge with the Cleveland Browns, they got a really damn good defense. A near championship level kind of defense. It is that good. Jim Schwartz, I got to tell you, if I needed a defensive coordinator, that's a guy I would consider calling. And the New York Jets. As we know, Woody Johnson literally drowned Justin Fields the other day. And let's keep it real. Justin Fields has been terrible. He's been horrible. Tyrod Taylor didn't look very good either, to be honest with you. They're actually, I believe, the Jets, a possible level lower of suck than the Cleveland Browns, which is nuts because the Jets have some real talent. Sauce Gardner's there. Garrett Wilson is there. And all of a sudden, we got rumors popping up about Shedeur Sanders and Garrett Wilson and a trade. What is going on? Now, I do believe the Browns need some wide receiver help. No doubt about it. Jerry Jeudy, I've said it before. I'll say it again. He's not a 1. He's an okay 2. He's an okay 2, excellent 3. But right now, he's acting. He's masquerading. He's imposturing as a 1. You know who's a 1? A real 1? Garrett Wilson. And this is a wild rumor. It really is. But it is floating around the idea of trading Shedeur Sanders for Garrett Wilson. I can tell you right now, the Jets ain't going to do that straight up. They're not going to do that straight up for a backup quarterback. For a elite level wide receiver, they're not going to do that. So you'd have to do a Shedeur Sanders along with probably like a 3rd or a 4th, I would guess. I don't know that he would do it for Shedeur in a 5th. Maybe. Depends on how much the Jets want to move him. Check this out.
Have you heard anything about Garrett Wilson and the possibilities of moving him to Cleveland?
No, I haven't. I have not heard that. And most of what I've heard is that the Browns were not necessarily going to be receiver buyers, but I don't necessarily agree with that either. I actually think that they should add a really good receiver over the next couple of weeks and someone that you can have around for the foreseeable future, for the next few years, somebody on a multi-year contract. Because as I said, I mean, it's a young, fledgling receiving core in many aspects. And right now, I think they need another veteran, especially when Jerry's having a hard time getting on track for whatever reason. So I would add somebody as soon as possible. I don't know that they're going to do that. I think it's an area that they'll probably address maybe in the offseason, but I would be kind of doing it now.
Mary Kay Cabot joining us right now on the fan hotline.
Throw the name in there.
Well, I like to sometimes.
No, you're going to throw the other. No, not her name. I meant the other name thrown in there during it.
Yeah, because I wouldn't trade Mary Kay as part of a Garrett Wilson package.
I wouldn't trade Mary Kay for anything.
But I did say, because I was asked, because a host in New York had brought it up, yes, I would trade Shedeur Sanders if it meant getting Garrett Wilson, because I think that's how good I think Garrett Wilson is and how just up in the air I am right now on Shedeur Sanders. What about?
No doubt about it. I wouldn't think twice about it. Now, if you wanted to keep Shedeur, a guy that I would look at is a guy I like. He's the number 1 in Vegas, and he was the number 1 with the Patriots. A guy that, in my opinion, is really just an excellent number 2, but he can certainly play like a number 1, is Jacoby Myers. And he's probably not going to have the same contract as Garrett Wilson. He's older, yes, but he's got a couple of good years left, and he can sort of come in and help play that role. I mean, honestly, Jacoby Myers went to Vegas. They lost Amari Cooper, and it's turned out okay. That team sucks, but Jacoby Myers has been solid as a rock out there. Solid as a rock.
How about you, Mary Kay? That is a quarterback.
Well, I think right now what everyone needs to realize is the Browns are continuing to bring Shedeur Sanders along. They're not punishing him. They're not stashing him away in some kind of room where nobody can see him. They're not doing wrong by Shedeur Sanders. They're bringing him along at the pace they feel he needs to be brought along at, but they're really excited about what they're seeing in Shedeur. And so they're not going to trade Shedeur away before they know what they have in him. They're
not going to trade him away. They surely have some idea what they've got in him, because Stefanski has supposedly been talking about him, working with him. Remember, he's coming in early. They're working behind the scenes together. All that stuff that we talked about a couple of days ago. So, Rizzo and Tony Grossi this morning.
Albert Breer wrote today, he thinks there's a possibility that Browns could deal Shedeur Sanders before the trade deadline. Would that then open up an opportunity for them to activate Deshaun Watson? Do you think that's totally off the table, or is there a possibility Sanders could be dealt?
Well, they're covered if that opportunity arose, because first you got Zappy, who could serve as an emergency number 2 until Deshaun Watson's ready. I've heard that they anticipate having him cleared medically after the bye week.
Watson,
correct. Which means they would then have up to 3 weeks to activate him, or they could activate him sooner than that. So timing-wise, it can happen. I just question who's, inquiring about Shedeur Sanders.
Okay.
But if the Browns feel that they're covered and they have an offer.
And as I was getting ready to play this particular clip, I forgot all about Deshaun Watson. Like, we've talked about it. We've been aware of it. I've talked about him multiple times in multiple weeks, saying he's coming. Watson is coming. And he was going to be the fly in the ointment of all this other quarterback stuff the Browns have got going on. Yeah, now all of a sudden, look, it's a nightmare for a Browns fan, but they could trade Shedeur Sanders and activate Deshaun Watson. And now you're talking about multiple people having brought up a Shedeur Sanders trade, including Albert Breer, one of the biggest insiders in the business now, a national insider getting involved in all this. So, it sounds like this is getting a little realer, to be honest with you. I don't know. Josh Cribbs on Shedeur.
Should we be talking about the fact that even that he didn't throw interceptions and we won? Should there still be considerations like maybe we should, or the Brown staff should move away from Dillon Gabriel to work Shedeur Sanders in? Not because Dillon is doing so bad, because he's not doing good enough, because he's not progressing down the field.
Okay. So Josh Cribbs believes they ought to play Shedeur because it's not that Dillon's been bad, he's not been good enough. Okay. I can see that argument. Here is the most Browns thing ever. You trade away Shedeur Sanders because Deshaun Watson's coming back. Not necessarily that you're going to play Deshaun as the starter, but he can easily be the backup quarterback. Shedeur Sanders gets traded, actually becomes something. Becomes a starting quarterback. Let's say he's a top 18 quarterback in the league. Maybe a top 15 quarterback. So that means in the last 5 years, you've given up on 2 quarterbacks that potentially are starting. Baker Mayfield is an MVP candidate, potentially the leader for the MVP in the league. And then you may have Shedeur Sanders out there as some kind of top 12, top 15, top 18 quarterback in the league for a different team, all because of Deshaun Watson. Can you imagine? I mean, if you're a Browns fan and you're rooting for Shedeur Sanders to start, if that happens, that may be the catalyst for you to just go ahead and turn your Browns fandom back in at that point, because that would be one of the crazier things that could happen. But we said back in August, Deshaun Watson would come back in October or around October and jack this whole thing up and mess this whole thing up. Albert Breer said a couple of weeks ago, I did a video on it, that Deshaun Watson, them wanting to get one last look at him. You know, I said in a video yesterday, they're talking about playing Sanders the last 4 games of the season. Well, they could just as easily say, well, you know what? We're going to play Deshaun Watson the last 4 games of the season because we want to triple check that he's fried. All right, at quarterback, that he absolutely cannot get it back. Whatever it was he had with Houston. We want to triple check it. Because he's already failed twice. This would be the 3rd time. So that time they were going to give to Shedeur in the last 4 games that's been rumored might end up going to Deshaun Watson instead. Yikes. Jesus. Unbelievable that the trading Shedeur Sanders because of Deshaun Watson thing could even be fathomable, but you might actually be here. Woo, that's crazy. Tell me what you think. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.
Thanks for watching the show. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Be sure to tune in next time on Black and White Sports.